Hi, I'm Ye. I play for Cloud9.
So the Red Bull home ground brings together the advantages of playing at home, whether that be in-game or not. What was it like in your upbringing getting into esports?
What was it like? Well, I guess you could say I started off young. I would say a lot of people do. I first started off, I guess, in a game called Medal of Honor. And that's when I was like 4 or 5, and it was like kind of like an FPS game like way back then. And then after that, I played like a whole bunch of different variety, but I think what got me into esports was like kind of the Call of Duty scene, because that was like the first scene I saw with like LANs, tournaments, fans, and crowds. So I was like, I think that's pretty cool. But the thing was on that was the Call of Duty scene was all on Xbox and like PlayStation 4, and I didn't really like those platforms. So for me, the only alternative was like Counter-Strike, and that's when I went like professional. Like I actually became a professional, and then I switched over to Valorant later on. So yeah.
So growing up, did you have any specific idols that you looked up to? Doesn't necessarily have to be within esports, it could be anybody.
Not really, to be honest with you. I wish I could say I had like a specific idol. I mean, there was like players and stuff that I watched, but like I don't know. I don't know if I had like an idol.
Within esports then, who was like maybe the player or the streamer that you've took most inspiration from so far?
It's hard to say because like it wasn't like one. It was like multiple. Like because it was mainly like the really good players around the time. You could say like Get Right. You could say like Nico, Shocks. You know, like those were like CS players I really looked up to. In the Call of Duty scene, you could say like Scum, Crim6. But yeah, just usually just like I always like the players that like really I guess excelled, if that makes sense.
Now we've all been able to get back into traveling and going to different events. It took you from Chicago or Texas back to the United Kingdom. How are you finding
Well,
the
I've been to
UK?
the UK before, and it's always treated me really nice. But to be fair, that was during the summer, so right now it's treating me kind of cold because even though I was born in like a super cold area, I moved to Texas, so now I'm like really now I'm used to the warm weather, and now it's like, oh no, I'm back. But the UK has always been a very beautiful country, and I've always loved the architecture, and like especially when you get on trains, you go out to the countryside. It's always been very very beautiful and pretty. So. It's good to be back.
Moving on to the Red Bull home ground, it's going to be the first chance that most people get to see you wearing Cloud9 colours, and you were the name on everybody's lips going into the off season and the roster mania. What drew you to Cloud9 originally?
I would say mainly the players, because I felt like if since the whole Optic team was kind of going to split just because of the contract situation and buyouts, it was just like it was inevitable. It was going to be kind of like a split. So I would say the players that mainly drove me here, because like I have a lot of respect for my teammates, because whenever I did play them on like Optic and like other teams. They were always really hard, you know, and the matches always went like third map, you know, like 13-10 score lines, super close score lines, and we managed to pull it out like most of the times, but they were always like super hard games. So for me, I've always had like a lot of respect, and they've been really the only other NA team that I've seen that has shown like at least the way I envision Valorant being played, like ideally, and with like so much variety and like creativity. They're the only other team that I've really seen like do that in the scene. So.
After such a roster period where quite a lot of organisations were interested in you, now you're at Cloud9. Does it give you any pressure to perform?
I mean, obviously, maybe I'd be lying to say that. You know, obviously, there's a lot of people like with expectations. You know, there's a lot of like expectation around my individual performance, not Cloud9's performance and stuff like that. And obviously, you know, you don't want to disappoint people and stuff like that. But for me, I guess like the best way I deal with it is like I try to like not really focus on that other stuff, because like I've always found when you focus on others' expectations for you, it generally tends to do pretty bad, because people's opinions shift around you like constantly. You know, so you can go from being loved to hated within days or weeks or months, you know. So for me, it's what's important is like we just take this step by step, and just whatever expectations that we have for ourselves, we just continue to grow day by day to try to reach those, you know. And if we do, fantastic. If not, sometimes that happens. That's just life, right? So But the main thing is just try to get better each day and not really worry about like what other people think about you.
Going into the home ground and VCT, you do seem to be the team to beat. That's not just kind of like my opinion, it seems to be the general consensus. What constitutes success for you guys? What are your ambitions?
For it probably varies with the player on a team, but for me, what constitutes success is that we get better. So, for me, results really don't matter in this tournament. I mean, obviously, it'd be great to win. You know, everyone loves learning, no one likes losing. But for me, as long as like we constantly improve, like that's the end goal. Is just to get better and better because, you know, what would it be if you win like short term and then you just start losing? So as long as you're constantly getting better, that's all that matters. So even if we lose, as long as we grow from this experience and learn, I'm happy. You know.
I always feel like with such an established player that all eyes are on them to perform, but I feel like esports is an industry where you need to enjoy yourself. What type of things do you do in your leisure time to relax and kick away and get away from all the outside pressures?
What do I do outside? To be honest with you, I do play like a lot of Valorant still, even in my free time. But I don't know. I do like sometimes getting away in nature is pretty fun. So I like to go to like some forests and parks. I like to play other games and meet up with my friends and just like kind of like just take my mind off Valorant, even though it's very hard because I'm always thinking about Valorant. So, but for me, it's just try and like get away and just spend time with your family, your friends, and other people around that time kind of gets neglected when you're an esports pro, I guess, and you're traveling nonstop. So try to make up for it the best I can and just try to not do Valorant nonstop.
What would you be doing if you weren't a Valorant player?
Dude, that's tough. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I think I originally was thinking about going into programming because like I used to do some programming when I was younger. I used to do some developing. So maybe that, but at the same time, kind of like the whole I kind of hate like a little bit of the corporate side where it's just like a standard like 96 boss that like kind of like wants to work you to death. So I think like maybe in an ideal world, I'd maybe do something on my own where it's like I'm creating something unique and something that I'm passionate about, and maybe like my own company kind of stuff. So I think I'd probably try to do something on that nature.
Prefer to be at home or on LAN?
For like competition, LAN. Just because I don't know. I hate like sitting around in the same space for like super long periods of time. When you go to LANs, you get to meet like a whole bunch of new people and new places. It's always very exciting. And I also think crowds are amazing. I love crowds. So you don't get that same online experience. So I'd say LAN for sure.
You've definitely got a team that plays the crowds as well. That'd be fun.
Phantom or Vandal?
For me, Vandal. But it's a little it's sometimes map dependent. Sometimes Split's a Phantom map, let's be honest here. So.
Favorite teammate of all time? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, easy questions. That's hard. That's very hard.
You can name a few if you want to let you off the horse.
One of them that might not be expected is I really enjoyed playing with Mata when I was back on Inbox with him. He was really fun. I've always really enjoyed playing with FNS. He's always been like a fantastic IGL. I played with him like on like 4 separate teams, so always love him. So, and yeah, I would say those two come to mind.
And then last one, best skin of all time.
Probably the Ion. I don't think anyone can argue with Ion.